I did a pulpit supply one Sunday in 1997. It was in what looked to be a dying church in a pocket of East Hollywood. And just by looking at the shape of the buildings, they didn't have the money to keep it up very well. But the congregation was lively and they were full of spirit. And the greeter, Wyndham, that morning asked if he could give me a hug, and the warm hospitality grew with the morning sun against the banks of stained glass windows on the eastern wall of that church. It was lovely, and so I was not prepared for Mildred. I stood at the door, I greeted the congregation, and yes, I'll be down. I would love to come to the coffee hour. I'll be there. And after everyone made their way down the wheelchair ramp, a lone figure ascended up towards me on her cane with a bulletin that was full of scribbled notes from what she had observed or heard. She sized me up, and I knew that I did not meet her requirements for whatever it was she was looking for that Sunday. "Were you the speaker this morning?" she asked me. "Yes," I said, and I introduced myself to her. She said, "I am Mildred McGarvey. I have been a member of this church for many, many years. I was listening today on the sound system in the Hunter Room. This church has a history of great speakers, and so what I have come here to tell you is that what you said this morning was base sophistry." I think sophistry alone would have been fine, but it was base sophistry. And I thought about this news for a moment, and I said, "Thank you." And she did a take worthy of Marie Dressler, and she said, "That was not a compliment." And I said, "Since you are my host and I am your guest, I have no choice but to take it as one." And within a year, I was the called pastor of that church. And Mildred discovered that she was going to have to get along with me just fine, and we did. To make up for her first comments to me, she said, "I suppose now I'll have to have you over for lunch. I'll call Meals on Wheels and have them send an extra lunch." And she did. She confessed to being an atheist, almost with a sense of pride, and she attended my Bible study, as she would say, in order to root out what really happened from the myth. And I have to tell you, I've noticed over the years that the people who tell me that they are atheists usually also have the highest church attendance. Why is that? I don't know. When she died, I discovered that I truly missed her. I had grown to love Mildred. I remember standing at her graveside after the graveside service with her daughter, a wise soul herself, until every bit of dirt was filled in at the grave, and it was even packed down by a backhoe. Her daughter wanted to stay for every last minute. In fact, many of the saints of that church are buried all around what looks like a little white Congregational church near the entrance of Forest Lawn, Hollywood. I'm sure you've seen it if you drive by. Wyndham, who gave everyone a hug, he rests there not far from his brother Purcell, who joined his wife Evelyn 5 years after her passing. Others are there too, some I never met, even before my time, I suppose. And so one day on my way somewhere, I drove through the gates, and I decided I would go and visit members of my former congregation who were no longer living, just to spend a little time there. People I loved. And as I did, it reminded me very much of the play Our Town by Thornton Wilder. Carl and I had just seen the Deaf West production at the Pasadena Playhouse, where one person was acting and the other was signing for that person. It was an amazing production. It's a play about the residents of a small town, as many of you probably know, called Grover's Corners in New Hampshire, who lived their lives quietly and, I suppose, with a sense of duty until at last they die and they are brought to the cemetery where others await them, fully aware Our town is often chosen by high school drama departments as a great vehicle for kids to learn about theater. It has parts enough to hand out to most drama clubs, and it doesn't need a set if your budget is kind of tight. One added dimension lies in the fact that it is a play about people who don't ever fully know who they are, often played by kids who don't yet know who they are. And that might be a reason why it rings so true. The play is led by an actor playing a stage manager, and through his words, Wilder says of humanity, "You know, Babylon once had 2 million people in it, and all we know about them now is the names of some kings and some copies of wheat contracts. Yet every night, all those families sat down to supper. The father came home from work. The smoke went up the chimney, same as here. And even in Greece and Rome, all we know about the real life of the people is what we can piece together out of the joking poems and the comedies they wrote for the theater back then." Wilder also says, through the voice of the stage manager, that he wants to leave the script in the cornerstone of a new bank so that the people 1,000 years from now can see this is the way we were in our growing up, in our marrying, in our living, and in our dying. I have this morning a 2-minute clip from the 2003 PBS version of Old Town with Paul Newman and Maggie Lacey. Mary Webb has been brought to her grave, but asks if she can go back to the town for just one more day. And when she does, she just sees how little people pay attention to each other and what is truly important.
Take me back. Up the hill. To my grave. But first, wait. One more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. Mama and Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking and my butternut tree and Mama's sunflowers. And hot baths, and sleeping, and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anyone to realize you. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it every minute?
No. Saints and poets, maybe. They do so.
I'm ready to go back.
Do any human beings ever fully realize life while they live it? Every minute. Emily asks this question of the stage manager after she's revisited her 12th birthday, and the stage manager answers that humans indeed do not realize life except maybe for the saints and the poets. Perhaps the play's best-known passage, these words emphasize the value of everyday events. And throughout the play, the characters place importance on moments of ceremony and consequence, such as a wedding or a funeral, but the characters don't ever appear to value or make an emotional connection to the daily activities of their rather ordinary lives. They live simply without knowing how precious life really is. And instead of attempting to realize life at every moment, the inhabitants of Grover's Corners, and people the world over by implication, often lack any sense of wonder, real true wonder that passes before their very eyes every day. Today's gospel reading is from the Beatitudes, as we've sung and heard and read today. It's a beautiful piece. We know these opening words of blessing as Beatitudes, and in contrast to Moses, who brought the word down from on high to the people, here is Jesus beginning his preaching ministry by bringing blessings up the mountain to the people, where he sat down with his disciples and taught. "Blessed are you," he said. He said it directly to them as he spoke to the poor in spirit, or to those who were in mourning, or to the meek, to those who would inherit the earth, to those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for the merciful, for the peacemakers, and others of us as well. Someone once said that saints are those who manage to love more than we did. Blessed are you, blessed am I. Jesus gave himself those blessings to anyone who would receive them, but once received, they are ours, and they are our blessings to do something in turn with. We are to be the blessings in this world we were taught we could be. And one day, who knows, we will be honored as saints because we took the blessings we received and we gave them away just as gracefully as did Jesus with all of the saints who followed. Seize this day. Grab it. Hold on to it. Don't let it go. Look more deeply. See the colors more richly. Glance into the faces you know and love, as well as those who may bring some new meaning for you yet. For life is so precious, and it must be lived fully. And so come to this table today unafraid to honor someone who helped make you who you are. And we point to those who have come before us as a way of talking about who we are and who we want to be. And one day, one might hope, we will be remembered for the positive marks that we left on the lives of others. And impossible, I know, as it seems right now, we might be remembered as unlikely saints ourselves. And so whom did you bring today with you into this room? Because the room is full of spirit. Who did you bring with you to honor and to remember? Bring that person, bring those people home with you to this table today, and come. For all things are ready. This is an open table, whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey. You are welcome here.